and talk about maybe some newer technology that may be getting ready to come out as well. But definitely, always an informative show whenever we get a chance to get Ray to come on with us. And so, with that being said, housekeeping. Please like, share, and subscribe to the video. It helps us get us into the broader algorithm of YouTube and Instagram and all the other social media posts. So if you would do us that favor, if you find anything helpful or useful in today's broadcast, please, by all means, share it. That helps broaden the audience and gets us out to a larger audience as well. And we appreciate all the help that we can get from you guys. So with that being said, let me welcome in my co-host, Mr. Chuck Snow. Good evening, Chuck. How are you?
I'm doing great, Rico. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm always used to saying good evening, but it's actually morning when we're recording this. So
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we have to do a pre-recording this week because I'm out on the West Coast in beautiful British Columbia. And I am getting back Tuesday, but by the time I get back Tuesday, the show will just be starting by the time the plane lands. It just didn't work with Rico's schedule and mine. So we didn't want to miss a beat here. So we're pre-recording.
Absolutely. So, and if I'm going to welcome in Ray really quick, and it looks like my camera's a little dirty. I need to rub the camera, so I'm gonna turn my camera off for just a second. let me welcome Ray in though before I do that. Good evening, Ray. Good morning, Ray. How are you?
Hey, good Sunday morning, guys. Hope everyone's doing well.
Yeah, we're doing. You know what? I'm glad I didn't have that extra glass of wine last night that I was thinking of. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Ladies and gentlemen, so happy to have Ray Veeneman with us. He is the Vice President of Remarketing for Rush Truck Centers of Canada. Ray is a very well-respected industry expert when it comes to trucks, especially used trucks. He's been at it for years, and he's going to tell us what's going on in the used truck market and then also the new truck market, because he's got privy to that information as well. And we're going to pick his brain so that we all know a little bit more. Ray, great to have you on. Thanks so much for joining us at this ungodly hour on a Sunday morning. I'm sure there's other things you would rather be doing, but you decided to spend some time with the folks over at Rates and Lanes. Thank you, and we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
My pleasure, and thanks for a wonderful introduction, guys.
So, Ray, tell us, how has the market been lately? What's going on as far as just in general with both new truck sales and used truck sales? How volatile is the market, or is it fairly stable and settled at this time?
Well, I think we're going back to normal standards now, Rico. Yeah, it is changing for sure. The dynamic has changed a lot. COVID had a tremendous impact on the industry, as you guys all know. And, we're hearing from a lot of big fleets that loads have reduced by about 40% right now. So that's, bringing the demand of trucks down, of course. And the OEMs are now starting to be able to produce new trucks, which is then, bringing more used trucks into the market. And of course,
Right.
the used trucks coming into the market are coming back at a normal rate. So unfortunately, all these guys that perhaps overpaid because the industry demanded that price during COVID, now they're back down to real prices or realistic prices. So some guys are unfortunately losing money on them, and the stuff with higher miles is going down in price dramatically, and the demand for those trucks have dropped quite a bit. But new truck market still seems to be holding its own. There are some hiccups in the industry with a couple guys going under or threatening to go under, dealers included.
Wow.
More used truck dealers, I think, than anything.
Right.
I'm hearing financial institutions are recalling their marker, if you will.
Yep.
I'm hearing that we're pretty close to a couple financial sources, which is really nice. And their repo rate has increased dramatically. One I heard last week is up to $70 million in repos. Now that's a blip on their market, but it's just we're all having to kind of get back to the usual, if you will. It's a correction like this isn't a bad thing. it kind of puts the market back to where it's supposed to be. And you'll see the big fleets that have been around for years and years, they seem to be able to weather these storms, and a lot of them come out much stronger, because the guys that are new or that have tried to reduce the rate to try to win business can't sustain that. So it's the guys that are there, and the steadies that have been around for a long time, like, the Challengers, the Criscas, and those guys, they'll weather this storm and come out strong, and that's kind of nice to see. But this correction is always good, I think, in the market. I remember a fellow that I used to do business with I'd say, when the economy gets bad and depressed, how do you do? He goes, Ray, we always, we suffer a little bit going through it, but we're positioned well and we come out stronger. So, those guys will come out stronger.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the biggest things is if you can weather the storm and manage to come through it, then if you go through one of these, it kind of better prepares you for if you happen to experience another industry cycle. And that's what I like to try to dub this as a cycle. Even though this, I've been trucking independently since 2009, and this period right now is probably the toughest that I have ever experienced in the industry since I've been doing it. Just from a personal standpoint.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. COVID has thrown a bit of a twist into it that we haven't experienced before. We've certainly seen the ups and downs. I don't think we've seen such a huge influx in cost or material cost or parts shortage.
That's the killer part, because that's the killer part, because coupled with costs continually to increase, and with the pushback from customers wanting the rate reduction, it's very unbalanced, and right now it's we're talking about trucks. I was pricing. I don't need one at the moment, but I was wanting to price a turbo for my tractor, and just the price of the turbo alone was $8,000 just for the part. We're not even talking labor.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you got to make sure you can get one too, right? There's still a bit of a part shortage. There's that supply chain demand still a little bit off. It's getting better, but yeah, it creates a false economy, and I think people rushed. They were panicked to get inventory that maybe they didn't really need, but they were just afraid of a shortage. Very similar, I hate to say it, but like our toilet paper and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It was that false kind of pressure.
Yep.
And so here's a question for you, Ray, that I don't know, I'm gonna throw it at you and see what your input is on it. But let's say if you got a smaller carrier, somebody that did buy at the height of the market or whatever, and now that truck is getting a little wear and tear, a little usage on it, and they're thinking about maybe swapping out of it or upgrading or anything like that nature. What would your advice be to someone in that situation that maybe a little bit over leveraged on a unit that they currently have?
Yeah, I mean that's the big part of it. If you are over leveraged, you got to sit down and do an analysis of, and I mean, guys are doing this with their business every day that are in business. They're analyzing their revenue, they're analyzing their costs. And I think, it really comes down to right now is in fair market value. And the prices have declined so much that most people, or a lot of the people that overpaid and they bought trucks already, Rico, that they maybe wouldn't normally have bought with higher mileage. And now they're in a position they want to offload that truck because it's perhaps costing them some money or needing an engine replacement or rebuild or whatever. So they actually have to sit down and look at it and go, okay, do I want to bite the bullet or do I want to work my way out of it? Either way, it's going to cost money, unfortunately. There's a surplus of inventory out there. I don't know if you guys heard this or saw this, but just in the last 10 days, Ritchie Brothers had a private contract or had a contract with Penske to help sell off 2,500 day cabs across North America. And that sale was strictly Ritchie's sale, or excuse me, Penske sale. We couldn't put trucks in there ourselves. Nobody could. It was dedicated to Penske only.
Wow.
You know, and then come the end of this February, we're going to start seeing the company Yellow Iron, Yellow Transport. We're going to start seeing their trucks hitting the market the end of February.
That's going to be a lot of trucks too.
Correct. So there's going to be a lot of inventory, specialized inventory, if you will. And some of their fleet was older. Now they did add a lot of new stuff just towards the end of their the start of their bankruptcy.
Excuse me.
But there's going to be a lot of inventory hitting the market here soon. So that tends to always bring the pricing or the value down as well, right? If I said this in a podcast I did for somebody else just recently, if I can guide anybody that wants to dispose of or trade in vehicles, really start to look after your vehicles. And when you bring a truck into someone like me or some of my staff or anywhere for that matter, make sure it's clean. Make sure it's a way that you want to present it. I can't tell you guys how often guys are bringing trucks into me with pee bottles, garbage, dirty, mud, greasy, and
not
they're
the infamous pee
high
bottle.
value. Oh, and Rico, I'm not kidding.
No,
not just one either.
No.
And I can't believe the way, as you guys know, I just drove to Florida and I'm looking at trucks because that's what we do, right? We're in that business. But the mess that some of these guys keep their interior of the truck in, and I'd hate to see their homes, honestly. I mean, they're spending more time in that truck. And I saw one truck, with the little side window on the passenger side.
Right.
The garbage, I could see it on the bottom in that little window, and I could see it mounted up to the side of the driver or passenger window. And I'm going, you got to get in that every day and look at that. And then they bring it to me and want me to give them a high value on their trade. It ain't going to happen.
No.
Right.
It just can't happen.
It's so true. I got to tell you, I always look
for... you can't keep your interior up, period.
Yep. Yeah, that's so true. I couldn't agree because I'm always looking for like older classic trucks. And when I see them for sale and they've got, just garbage right away, I lose my interest because I know they haven't taken care of it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how people try to sell stuff that's not in good shape.
Yeah, you got to definitely try to put your best foot forward. So on the other end of the spectrum, Ray, let's say if someone has been prudent and diligent all throughout COVID and everything else, what would you recommend? And they're looking to maybe buy some new equipment. Where would you say would be the opportunities that could be had to maybe get a great deal?
So we're now starting to see, as far as new trucks go, we're starting to see some cancellations. So bigger fleets, smaller fleets, they're starting to cancel orders that they had and even lose their down payment in the process. They're walking away from deals. So we're going to start seeing deals at OEMs now. Navistar, there's the odd canceling. We've been very fortunate so far where we haven't had a lot of cancellations. We had a couple very minor ones, but we're hearing in the industry a lot of big cancellations. So, and with this one used/new truck dealer, kind of an off-brand company, OEMs have been repossessing new trucks that haven't even been delivered yet. And they're available on the market now, so there's going to be a surplus of new trucks available too. And when that happens, of course, pricing comes down accordingly. Unfortunately, interest rates are still where they are, so you have to be prepared for that. But I think new truck pricing will start to come down a little bit, Rico and Chuck, and as used truck pricing has also come down quite a bit. So I don't think new trucks are going to come down quite to the level that used trucks have, but
how much has interest rates affected the pricing of trucks as well? That's an interesting dynamic.
It is very interesting because it's a psychological thing more than anything, right? I mean, everybody bases their big fleets not as much, but when owner operators come in, and it's no different than buying cars, people look at payments.
Right.
So it's more, and that's why we went from 60-month financing to 72 months and then to 80 month, and and that's just to accommodate
Right.
a monthly payment, right?
Right.
That's all it is. And people are they know what they can afford per month, so that 5%, 7%, 8% interest rate doesn't really matter. It's just what their monthly payment is what they look at. So, but the bigger fleets, of course, look at interest rate. They do look at that very, very conservatively, and they want a good, fair interest rate. So that does somewhat, what's the word I'm looking for? Determine how they're buying, the buying process.
But a big fleet, Ray, would never finance a truck over 72 months, would they?
No, absolutely not. And and bigger fleets have got more on a trade-in trend too, Chuck. Of course, COVID had changed that a little bit because of demand, or because of no trucks availability. But a lot of new big fleets are doing 3 and 4 year trade-ins, right? They're changing their fleet out pretty regularly, stay ahead of any kind of maintenance, and they're taking advantage of factory warranty. So it is pretty nice. And we're our used trucks now. I'm Navistar International has done a really good job of putting together some great warranty packages now. So I'm actually having my team, when they're selling used trucks, to put this new Navistar warranty, because there's nothing better than a factory warranty. I mean, I really, really like it. What happens when you buy a factory warranty, it actually gets attached to the serial number, the VIN number. So when you go into a dealership, it's recognized right away. When you go with a second and third party warranty, you have to remember to tell the shop that there's a third party warranty, and you have to hope that they will actually honor that as well.
Right.
So because there's a lot of work that goes with that, but they're also good. But the factory warranty is the best.
Ray, can you tell us a little bit about the warranties that you have available now? Because I think that's the safest thing. If somebody's going to buy a truck right now, is the warranty. Get on that.
Yeah, I actual detail, I'd have to pull it up, Chuck. And if you gave me a minute, I'm sure I could. But what we're offering right now, and when I say us, I can't take credit for this. This is something that Navistar Corporation or International Corporation, we have a really good rep at Navistar that has put this together for us. And we have a 6-month, we have a 1 year, and we have a 2-year warranty. The consumer can choose either just an engine. He can choose an engine and after treatment. He can add on towing. He can add on transmission and axles as well. And it's not that costly. I think Navistar, again, and I apologize, I can't address or speak to the other OEMs. I'm sure they're doing
Should you?
Right.
I'm sure they're doing as equally a good job at this. And so I'm not trying to I can only speak of what I know. But Navistar has done a good job, and I believe they subsidize it a little bit as well to make it affordable. And it is really, it's a peace of mind thing, right? It's like buying any insurance. Sometimes you never need it and you buy it and you go, geez, why did I buy that? But there's a lot of times, especially with equipment now, man, everybody tries to build the best they can. But unfortunately things do break. They're mechanical things. And, but there's a 6-month, there's like I say, a 12-month and a 2-year option. And some guys are just buying a 6-month warranty because it is a used piece of equipment. Usually if it hasn't broke within the next 6 months after purchase, and it gets them through the initial payment phase, because they had to come up with a deposit or a down payment. They had to save and scrimp and save for that. And then they know they can make the monthly payment. So if they can get 6 months under their belt, then they get that level of comfort to, if something happens down the road, perhaps they've banked a little bit of money by then. So like again, 6-month, 12-month, and 2-year, and it's engine and after treatment. You can add towing. You can also add transmission and axles as well. So Chuck, I apologize. I don't have that.
Ray, the one thing I do have to ask though, on that, let's just say the 2-year warranty.
Sure.
If I was to buy it on a truck, is there a mileage cap on it over that 2-year period?
So we had one last year that there was no mileage cap, so unlimited mileage, which is crazy.
I know.
But they did have a mileage cap, meaning once the truck hit, I'm going to say 1.2 million miles,
Right.
then warranty was done.
Okay.
But if you bought a truck that had 400,000 miles on it, you were great.
That's a lot of trucking,
right?
Yeah.
I wanted you to finish your thought, Ray. I got a question for you. I'm not sure if you can answer it.
No, go ahead.
I'm gonna throw it at you anyway. When it comes to one thing that I'm hearing a lot of people talk about or ask questions about are leases. Is doing in the commercial aspect of leasing trucks. Is that really a viable option for commercial trucks and for our industry, or is it mostly you're looking at always of outright finance purchase?
So, when you say lease, there's a number of different lease options, right? So if an owner operator comes in off the street, so buying one truck, has one truck, maybe has 2 or 3, then it's a lease to own. So it's really essentially a finance lease with a purchase or a buyout at the end. Now, if you're looking at bigger fleets, they have a full service lease, which means they come to either a Penske, a Rentway, a Ideal Lease, which we are proud members of, and then they get a full maintenance lease, and so their trucks are coming in for regularly scheduled maintenance. They're paying for all of that, so there's no hidden cost to them at that point. They know what their monthly cost is for the truck, so they're paying a monthly fee plus so many cents a mile. On top of that to handle the maintenance, right? So they know they've captured their costs. And then at the end of those 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years, whatever the lease is structured at, they hand the truck back and they get a new one.
Well, that's kind of what I was asking for from the standpoint of if an owner operator was interested in something like that. That's not a product that they could maybe qualify for or get into.
They'd have to go to one of those leasing company, either Ideal Lease or the other ones as well that I mentioned, and see if they qualify. They'll have to do like everybody else and fill out a credit application and meet the criteria that would allow for that to happen.
Gotcha.
Guys, I've had a lot of experience with that. As a matter of fact, I was one of the first people in Canada doing that 45 years ago. Against everybody said, you're never going to do this. This is crazy. And they were half right and they're half wrong. Where they were right was the time I started doing it. Had I bought trucks, I would have run those trucks for 3 years. And because of inflation, I would have sold them 36 months later for the exact same thing I paid for them. Because trucks had gone up that much. That was back in 78. And then the good thing where I was right was in my first year, I got up to about 12 trucks. Now, I didn't have the cash flow, and I did factoring in those days was like just I didn't even enter my head because it was so expensive. It was 5% per month, so that's 60% interest. I could never have built my fleet up to 12 trucks in a year had I bought. So it was a natural. And the wonderful thing about those full maintenance leases is, the first of the month what your cost is. You don't have that with anything else. You have a set cost, which is a great way to run a business.
It eliminates any surprises for sure.
Right.
Exactly. But again, you never gain equity in your equipment. And if you look at a lot of carriers, including Challenger, if you look back at their roots way back, DNS leasing, going back almost 50 years ago, they got a free bump because they had a whack of trucks, and they went through that 3-year period where they ran them basically for free other than maintenance.
Mhm.
So that really helps your company get started.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
COVID did a lot of that too, given that equity bump. And, a lot of the bigger
Yes.
fleets, of course, where they make their money is in real estate as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it as well. But for sure, Rico, the lease is an option. Like I say, the full service lease, you certainly have to qualify for that. And then, well, you qualify for a finance lease as well. But owner operators typically only can do a finance lease. There may be some exceptions, but they usually require a larger number of units in a fleet to do that full service stuff.
Got you. Okay. Well, they say the only dumb question is the question not asked. So we definitely
Exactly. There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
So any other things that by you being an insider, Ray, I'm gonna ask you for maybe a little bit of an inside knowledge. Is there anything in particular that's going on right now in the truck sales industry that maybe us people on the outside looking in wouldn't be aware of or know of, or anything special that's going on that you can maybe shed a little insight to us with?
I can't say.
So if you tell us, you gotta kill us.
I've signed non-disclosure agreements, guys. I can only say so much. But no, I mean, I think we are going to see still a bit of a disruption within certain dealers and certain fleets. We hear talk about that, and as you guys all know, where there's smoke, there's fire. To what degree the flames will be, I don't know yet. But there's certainly some changes coming down the pipe that we're all going to perhaps be a little surprised about. And we've got EVs coming down the pipe, but we all do. We've got new emissions coming up in 2026, I think, is when that starts. So there's a lot of stuff all coming at us. Driver Inc. is a big thing here that our government is starting to push for. Certainly our transportation association is going after the Driver Inc. thing, and so that's, I think, more and more people are starting to go after that, and so there's a whole bunch of different dynamics in the industry that people are starting to pay attention to.
Guys, the good thing about all of this, there's a silver lining, and we're going through some tough times in the industry right now. But I really believe that the next JB Hunt and Werner are going to come out of the ashes of this. There's going to be some fellow or lady that walks into Ray's used truck shop and buys a good used truck, and 40 years from now, they will be the next JB Hunt or Schneider, because there's opportunity now.
I agree, and and the cream always rises to the top, and I think that's. I think the world, the industry, everything needs a little bit of settling, needs a little bit of a correction, and I think we're going through that right now, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's how we deal with it, how we treat people going through that is very important, and but it's needed. I think it's very much needed right now in the industry.
Well, here's another aspect I wanted to ask about really quickly as well, since we're talking, newer technology. Is there anything coming down the pipe that you can discuss about newer technologies that may be starting to make its way into the trucks? Anything that may be a little bit more off the path of the beaten drum, or anything groundbreaking that you're hearing about that may be coming down the pike as far as maybe new engine technology or even new safety technology?
Hey, Rico, you do know I'm in charge of used trucks, right?
Yeah.
No, I do.
well, you might be able to retro.
There is definitely stuff coming, but more along the electric vehicle and the hydrogen fuel, and those things that we all read about and coming down. And really, other than that, I don't see. As far as us, we've got Navistar International, the new engine, the S13, which promises to be really quite a great leader I think that's something to look out for and to watch for. Cummins is doing their thing to participate in making things better for end users like they always do. But it's really the EV stuff, I think, and the hydrogen fuels, the alternative fuels. Those are the things to be looking at right now, Rico, because, it's such a government push. And, unfortunately, with all of that comes a huge dollar sign as well, right? And
yeah,
I'm hearing
I'm
nightmares,
really
but
curious as to. I mean, it's really interesting times that we're living in, because I'm not sure how valuable the EVs are actually going to be when it comes to. We just had this major cold spurt, right? And everybody was showing how all the Tesla charging centers weren't charging and stuff like that. So if you have a situation like that, if you got a fleet of EV trucks, and you run into a situation where you at the charging station and it's not charging because it's too damn cold.
that was good for the economy. The tow truck drivers made out very well.
like bandits.
So I mean that's the thing about I don't know that I think we're definitely getting ready to experience the law of unintended consequences is going to be kicking in on some of the stuff with it when it comes to the EVs and everything like that, because it sounds really great, but but having the infrastructure in place to even make it a true reality is I think that's going to be the major hurdle when it comes to those situations and the viability of actually being able to move freight. There was a lot of stuff that was promised that was touted, but real world experience, I hadn't seen any of that stuff come to fruition.
Well, I don't profess to be, an expert on this by any step, but I read a little bit about it, and it's interesting. All of this seems very political to me more than really anything else. And I read an article the other day, and you guys might have read it. And again, so it may be right, it may be wrong, I don't know, but they said for a car EV to be totally green, to get any kind of zero green emissions out of that car, you actually have to drive it 7 years to balance out for what it cost and what it did to mine and to build that car. You have to own it for 7 years, and then they say after 7 years, you pretty much got to go to a new battery.
That's what I was just getting.
So you start all over again. So it's never zero green. And I read a good book a little while ago that a really good friend of mine gave me, loaned me, and I'm happy to say I gave it back. It's called Platinum Man, and it's a book about Steve Kearney, who revolutionized platinum mining and palladium mining in South Africa. And it's amazing how much mining, and remember, they mine with big machines.
Right.
There's a lot of emissions to get this much platinum and palladium. So, you got to take everything into account. If you're really going to measure green emissions, and if you're trying to fool the people, you should tell them everything.
And what are they going to do with these batteries once they're at the end of the useful life? I mean, that's another thing that I've been hearing about and I think that even some manufacturers, I know Ford has gotten some major, from a regular industry consumer car standpoint, Ford has gotten some major pushback as far as their EV ventures have gone. They're not selling any at all from what I've heard.
Yeah, driving around the lots here right now, I've seen a lot of them sitting there full of Lightnings and Mach-E's, and it's unfortunate because I'm a Ford guy. I love Ford, and I think all brands are pretty equal now. But yeah, they have a lot of it. It may be the demise of some OEMs. I don't know. It's because they've all retooled to accommodate this, and it is unfortunate because the buying has certainly slowed down on those. Let's face it. I mean, I get battery anxiety when my phone is down at 30%. I couldn't imagine that.
I agree. Now, I heard something really interesting, guys. And that was somebody's point of view, but it made so much sense. So we all know it's not a secret how clean our new diesels burn. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
I know when we brought them into the shop at Traffics, and the mechanic was doing something, and those things were running, Nobody in the office ever complained.
Yeah.
But when we used to bring the older ones in, my God, the mechanic ran the engine for 10 minutes. People were, I can't breathe. I got to go out, and they did, there was that smell. So now they apparently, what comes out of that stack is cleaner than the air that goes in, according to Homer Hogg, who's an industry expert, which I believe. Now we're using this DEF, diesel exhaust fluid. When you start thinking of producing this diesel exhaust fluid, hauling it around, putting it in plastic jugs, getting rid of the plastic jugs and all of this, how much are we really saving the environment?
Yeah, you can't get me started on that. We've gone
rides.
In everything, we've gone so far the wrong way or so far the one way that, we need, I mentioned a correction about pricing and everything. We need a correction of that as well.
I agree.
We've just gone too far. And now maybe I'm getting too old. I don't know. But we've gone too far one way that I think the whole world needs an adjustment.
Well, we still need to bring people their food and their necessities of life. And it all travels on a truck at some point.
What's interesting to me, we talk about green and I guess we've gone way off topic here, and I apologize, but
no, we
apologize.
We talk about green and we talk about preservation, and we manage population of animals.
Right.
We have not managed wisdom. Contrary to that, we're bringing more people in, and we're not managing population properly. And we're okay to build house after house after house and road after street, but we're not managing population, which is really the negative cause on green or emissions. And that's the irony of all of this. And in my mind, and again, I we can jam as many people in here as we want that are driving more cars. And, when we were younger, as we all were at one time, mom and dad maybe had one car in the driveway. Now everybody's got 4 or 5 cars in the driveway.
Yeah.
We don't manage that either. We're a wasteful society, but again, population is the problem.
Yeah. That's how we think about everything. We try to fix the results, not the cause.
Correct.
Even with I just started reading a book yesterday, totally off topic this time, but it was written by a former cancer surgeon who one day started thinking, well, why am I doing this? I'm treating the result. I got to get to the cause. And the cause is in lifestyle.
Yeah.
So maybe getting us back on topic, getting us back in line.
Well done.
When it comes to used trucks, Ray, since you're in charge of used trucks, and maybe this is a industry insight that you might be able to share with us. Is there any particular time that's better to be looking to purchase than others, like say a time of the year, so to speak? Because you always hear this in the regular consumer car industry. It's better to buy at the end of the model year and all this other stuff. But when it comes to commercial trucks in our industry, and if someone's out there looking, is there a particular time that may be a little bit better suited to maybe be more advantageous for them to get a better deal than others?
I think the best time for a fleet to buy is when they need a truck. It's funny. I get what you're asking, and I'm kind of dancing around it. We did last year. We did the Bourbon Trail. I'm a bit of a bourbon drinker, and one of the guys in the group said, "What's the best bourbon you can buy?" And the guy said, "It's the one you like the most."
That's so.
So I know where you're getting for financial advantage and stuff like that. Right now, the prices are coming down. So if you're looking to buy new and used, absolutely. I think it's a good time. I think I'll go back to COVID times again. People bought when they didn't really need trucks. They were scared that there was no inventory.
Right.
So I think, and that's why I kind of joked about that, Rico, a little bit.
Right.
The best time to buy is when you really need it, not when you think you need it.
Right.
And I think, guys that manage their fleets well, buying comes naturally, and it's scheduled purchase in a lot of cases. They're not normally buying on rate of interest, those guys, and they're looking, okay, here's what my cost to operate is, and when it gets past this date, my cost to operate grows tremendously. Cost to maintain, which is part of the operation, right?
Right.
So they try to mitigate that by buying. So, but right now, so yeah, prices are coming down, Rico, for sure. Good time to buy. I think, as I said earlier, the yellow iron's going to be hitting the ground here soon. I did hear that Penske's going to be unloading some more trucks soon. So the more inventory that hits the streets, the lower the prices are going to come. That's just natural.
And
right?
also with the repos that you talked about as well, those are going to be hitting the market as well. Coming through the auctions.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you remember years and years ago, and I can't really recall what year it was, but there was so much inventory that Freightliner had trucks parked in fields and fields and fields. And I don't know where those trucks ever actually ended up. I heard, they all went south and like South America and stuff, but I mean, in Asia but I think, with this many trucks hitting the ground, it'll be a good time to buy. And but I don't think buying because something is a good deal is always a good business decision.
No, it's a horrible one. You buy it, like you said, buy it when you need it. And that's what takes some. I think we should all look at how the big guys operate because they're great operators.
Yeah.
Who's a better operator than, let's say, Hunt or Schneider or Werner or Knight or they have thousands of trucks because they're so good, and they hire the best people to spec them. They hire the best people to manage them. They know what they're doing.
I remember someone coming home one day saying, "Hey, this is on sale. I can save $50 to buy it." It was $300, but we didn't need it, so it really cost us $250. We didn't save $50.
No.
Right? So I think that's the big part of it is buying when you need it, when you really need it, and managing that business properly. But actual industry pricing is going down for sure. There's a great, and I've got it sitting in front of me here. ACT does a wonderful job of industry statistics. They published a paper on January 25th, 2024, that has tremendous results, and it's true history, current history and current pricing of trucks. I can tell you in December, there were they kind of group it in different ways. So Class 8 trucks, there was 51. This is the month of December. There was 5,180 trucks that went through the auction for a total of sales price of $122 million. Retail trucks went through. There was 4,166 registered. Now, this is in the United States, okay? This is not including Canada. So that was $240,366. Wholesale units, they said there was 763 units that went through. And of course, these are only ones that were registered, and that's the only way they can track that. So that was another almost $23 million. So total sales reported for the month of December, that's all of those categories. And Chuck and Rico, I'm happy to send this report to you if you like. Total sales were 10,100 units in December for a total of $385 million. Now we can go further into that if you want and say year to date, Class 8 truck sales to December 23, there was 37,000 trucks that went through the auction for $984 million. There was 46,000 retail, and I'm rounding up or down.
Of course.
46,691 retail units for $3.096 billion.
Wow.
Wholesale units, there was 91,000 for another $364 million. So for year to date, there was a total transaction number of 93,357 units for over $4 billion. So it's a huge industry. There's a lot of money that changes hands. It's crazy that, we see these trucks going up and down the road, and, no credit's given to guys like you who run these businesses and operate these trucks. And the amount of money that this generates in the overall economy is huge. Trust me, guys, when I say this, the dealerships that service you don't make a ton of money on it. They're not getting rich on it. They're a service industry like you guys are. Everybody's grinding out a living, and they all want to be friends. They all work together, and quite truthfully, Rico, that's how I met you, through Chuck. We're all friends now.
Right.
I've had the good fortune of knowing Chuck for a long time, and Chuck has helped me out tremendously over the last few years in the industry. And so it's just a great industry. It's great people in the industry, and as we get older, certainly as I get older, I appreciate all these connections. And Rico, you introduced me to a good guy in Atlanta, Eddie, and I had the good fortune of having breakfast with him on last Sunday morning in Atlanta, and that's what it's all about. There's tons of money in the industry changing hands, and as I just mentioned, a ton of units, but through that we all make great friends and great connections.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you, Ray, and to kind of maybe you can help advise. I'm asking this advisingly. I know that there may be great deals that may be able to be had at auctions and things of that nature. But for someone that's such as someone maybe in my position, a single operator or small fleet, would you recommend them having the relationship and buying with someone at a dealership versus taking their chances on going out and buying from an auction and dealing with the whatever you get once you buy from the auction?
Sure. So I'm going to preface this by, I used to be in the auction business for a number of years. I worked in the automotive auction industry for a couple of the big names that you all know. I owned and operated my own racehorse auction company for a number of years. The auction business has changed. It's no longer a wholesale market. And, there's a bunch of great truck or equipment auctions companies out there, and they are great. And it's a source of disposing of a lot of inventory at one time. And that's the beauty of it. The day that sale is on, that stuff is gone. So guys like me that are managing numbers and managing by date and having budgets to fulfill, and it's great for that. But it's no longer a wholesale auction. The internet has made this really a retail auction. So where one of those auction companies online can have 10,000 people online, and if you look, they show that there's 10,000 people on. They're not all bidding. As you all know, an auction, it only takes two people to raise the price.
Right.
But those people are all now retail auctions. So Rico, it's kind of risk and reward. You can take a chance. Now we're going back to what we talked about earlier, warranty.
Right.
Those places can't put the warranty on and don't guarantee the equipment like we do.
Right. As is where is, right?
Right. And, relationships still, to me, and that's just what I mentioned.
That means that absolutely means something.
I get the fun of dealing and calling Eddie names, and he gets to call me names, and we joke around, but I'm looking after his best interest because I have to, because I want him back again.
Of course.
And I've been in the industry long enough. My customers aren't my customers anymore. They're my friends. And, they call me and buy trucks. Chuck is a good example of that. 15, 16 trucks over the last couple of years. He never looked at them once before he bought them. Never. He called me up on the phone. Now, Chuck may swear at me a couple times because there may have been something wrong with those trucks, but I can honestly tell you if there was, it was not deliberate. It's a mechanical piece of equipment, and we've tried to look after it. And but that's the way to go. It is when you have a relationship, it's like being married. There's good days and bad days. And you have to manage those days, or otherwise people get divorced.
Yep.
Right.
And I think it's how we talk to each other, how we try to understand the problems and understand that it wasn't deliberate, and you know, some people have to take responsibility a little bit because maybe they didn't look after the truck the way they should have either when they bought it.
Right.
And you know, so everybody has to be honest with each other and to each other. But to answer your question, and I always do this too, and I apologize, take the long way.
No.
But I think it's always best to buy from someone you know.
I couldn't agree more. I've got to tell you, experience I've had, and I've bought things from the auction before. I bought a truck recently at an auction, but I bought a truck a few years ago. It was an older truck. It was just it was a little Ford single axle. It was I think it was a 66. And it said, I didn't go to the auction because it was online. It was during COVID. It runs. Okay. Well, in order to get onto that auction, the truck had to run. They got the truck to run. You know how they got the truck to run? They poured gasoline, because it was a gas job, directly into the carburetor. Okay. And they got it running. And I had the truck picked up. I had it brought to me. And I was looking forward to, you know, just kind of throwing a dealer plate on it and taking it over and throwing some gas in. There's no way I'd even leave the yard with that damn thing, you know. And I found somebody, I told him the truth, and he was going to pull the motor out anyways, which is a little 534 gas engine, and put a tiny little industrial Caterpillar. So it didn't matter that he was buying it, you know, knowing with a faulty engine. But, you know, that's the sort of chance you take at an auction, and there's no recourse. There's not an auctioneer that I've ever heard of that gives recourse or warranty or guarantees. You know, they're just a conduit for selling. Where you buy from the dealer, and if there is a problem, if it's a good dealership, especially one like Ray's that's coast to coast that offers warranties, you're paying for peace of mind.
Offers warranties, can help you with shipping, the whole gamut.
Yeah, so you know what? If you have a question after, you phone Ray or you phone his service manager.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, you know what? What's the serial number? Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just got a notice. There's a recall on that part. You know, we'll come pick up the truck and we're going to put the part in, or bring it in here. We've got the part ready for you. You know,
Rico, I've got a lot of good guys I work with, not only here, but also in the United States. So Rush Truck Centers has 140 dealerships in the US, and we have 14 here in Canada. And honestly, I get to go to these management meetings in Texas, and I am very fortunate to be part of this company. They run those management meetings like nobody's business, and it's at a big facility, big hotel, and it is so professional, and it's so structured and so timely. But during the breaks and during the awards banquets and during the get-togethers, I get to meet a lot of those people that I work with, and we become friends. But the good part about buying from a dealership is you and I may not click entirely, and you can say to me, "Hey, Ray, I've got you know, anybody else I can deal with," and I can recommend a ton of great people. Or if you break down, you bought from me here in Ontario, Canada, and you've broken down in Texas or Ohio or Florida. And I've just done that recently. I have the ability to call the dealership and say, "Hey, my buddy that bought from me here broke down. Can you help him out there?" And they've done that. And they've got him in a timely fashion. And, you know, there's a lot of advantage. And if you're buying from an unknown or a private enterprise, or they can't do that. You don't have that infrastructure to support your business. I hope I'm explaining that properly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. You know what? You certainly hammered out the point of, yeah, you may pay a little bit extra, but it's, do you want to buy something for a lot of money that you're really taking as buyer beware, or do you want a little bit of, do you want to know somebody's behind that investment you're making? Because you're really investing money.
And it's not even that you may be paying more, because it's funny, looking after all the used truck trades and stuff that people try to bring to us, or they want to sell me trucks, and the money that they're asking for them, I couldn't sell them for that amount of money at my dealership. But fleets have a better opportunity and have a better way of selling their own trucks at a higher value than I do. And I have yet to figure that out why, other than they're maintaining them and they're operating
Yeah.
them daily, and people have a trust in those fleets. And those fleets do look after the trucks, and they're very clean, and so
Okay.
they have a better way of marketing. I don't know. And I don't know why it is, but people will go and pay more to that fleet than they would buy them from me at a dealership. So it's very interesting. I like I say, I haven't figured that out yet. And it's been a puzzle for me for years. And I'm not complaining about it. I think it's great. I just wish I could get that much money.
Well, you know, it's just perception, really. Why do we buy? Why do we go into a certain store to buy clothes or whatever it is, shoes or whatever? Just 'cause it's emotional. For some reason, they have that emotional attachment to that dealer or that trucking company to buy their trucks. Maybe they drove there at one time, or their brother did, and their brother said, "My God, did they ever take care of stuff?" You know. As soon as that, you know, as soon as it hits a certain mileage, they're putting in new alternators and new belts, whether it needs it or not. So you feel real good about buying something from them.
Well, if you were, if I can, may I mention a couple fleets here? Like, is that okay with you guys if I do?
Sure.
Sure, please go ahead.
So, like Kriska Transport, for
Yep.
example, is a very good customer of ours, and their fleet manager, his name is Marcel. I have learned so much about trucks from him, and trailers, and he looks after his stuff, and he knows to the penny the stuff that he adds on his trucks, what the cost benefit is, and what the savings is. So when guys go to him, and he's such a good guy, he shares that knowledge with everybody that buys from him. And I think maybe that's another advantage to buying from. And I shouldn't say that because I like selling to people, but when
Right.
I'm now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that's why they're going to guys like him, because he is actually working that truck every day, and he can tell you, I'm not kidding, everything from tire tread to tires to fuel to he just wind resistance. He knows it all. Marcel has been a really, really good guy for me in the industry, and there's other guys too that in the fleets that we deal with that are very, very strong.
You know, Ray, you just said it all. You really did. What you just said, what I took from it, and I'm sure Rico did as well, and I hope our listeners did. But for those that didn't, what you had just hammered out was know your cost. And these people that run successful truck lines know because their business is running those trucks, and that's a huge part of their business is to keep that cost in line. And they know what tires to spec their trucks with, because maybe that tire is more money, but they know maybe it's more to buy, but they get better life out of them. Every extra mile they get on that tire goes right to the bottom of their profit and loss statement.
Better life, better mileage. And that's one way, to analyze that stuff. Your upfront cost may be a little more, but when you're putting 100,000 or 200,000 miles on and you average that out and the savings that brings, people are too quick at looking at upfront cost versus overall operating costs.
That's right. Yes. And you also have to remember, use Kriska as an example. The CEO that owns that, or used to anyways, I think he still does, Mark Seymour.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The guy is unbelievable. He is a mechanic by profession, as well as, he's got great business savvy.
He's a brilliant guy and a great guy.
I've heard him speak, and he is brilliant. No two doubts about it. But he understands what he's doing. He's not just a bean counter. A lot of times these companies are run by bean counters who they understand money better than anybody else on the face of this earth, but they don't understand value. Where a guy like Mark Seymour understands value.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the time, and we don't want to hold you hostage, Ray. We definitely appreciate you for taking the time out to come on and join us. But before we do let you get away from us, please, by all means, let everyone know how they can get in contact with you and anything else that you might want to leave us with before we depart.
Absolutely, guys. I appreciate the time as always. And
We appreciate
to the
yours.
listeners out there, my name is Ray Veeneman. It doesn't matter what you buy. I'm in the industry. I'm willing to help out and direct you. I can direct you to other brands. I can direct you to anybody you want. I'm happy to help out. My cell phone number, if you will, is 416-816-5239. I have a couple email addresses. If you look at my name on the screen there, my personal email is ray@Veeneman, my last name, .ca. Or you can catch me at rveeneman@rushtruckcenters.ca. Like I said, we have really in North America, 150 dealerships, great people to deal with. If I can help you out, I'm happy to. Just give me a call. I don't even have to sell you a truck. And you can call Chuck or Rico, and they can direct you in my direction as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. This was just great.
Appreciate it again, Ray. You're always a wealth of knowledge, and definitely appreciate you taking time out to join us and being so gracious with your time on this Sunday morning. We definitely appreciate it. Chuck,
I'm actually going now, Rico, to help a buddy move his water heater into the basement.
Oh man,
Watch your back, buddy.
A friend indeed is a friend indeed. I would give you a call. I got some breaks I'm getting ready to try to tackle out here. Well, Chuck, you out on the West Coast. Let everybody know how they can get in contact with you before you get back.
Okay, if I can help you, just send me an email, chucksnow280@outlook.com. Put your phone number on it. I promise I will call you back. If you need any help with your business, great story, real fast. I had lunch with a motor carrier the other day that was struggling, and he couldn't figure it out. And the answer was sitting right beside him, and I was able to get him back on his feet. Quite often, the answer's right there, but you don't see it because you can't see the forest through the trees. And with that, Rico, I'm going to let you back her in a hole for another week.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we definitely appreciate you guys for taking the time out to watch us. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you took a little time to hang out here with us, and we're always eternally grateful for you doing so. So for Ray Veeneman, Chuck Snow, this has been the Rates and Lanes podcast. I have been your host, Rico Muhammad. Until next time, be safe out there, everybody. God bless you. Good night, and keep it in between the mustard and the mayonnaise.
Catch on a flip-flop. God bless.
Thanks again, Ray.
Thanks,
Have
Ray.
a great day, guys.
Take care.